Well, our next speaker joins us on stage to talk on how applications and experiences are extending beyond sales and marketing into meaningful new areas that can improve your business and transform the way products are designed, operated, and serviced. Jay Wright is Senior Vice President and General Manager at Vuforia in the PTC Technology Platforms Group. In his role, he has global responsibility for driving the Vuforia business and maintaining Vuforia as the leading software platform for development of augmented reality applications. In his talk today, Jay will discuss how Vuforia is revolutionizing work processes and making businesses more efficient and productive. Please join me in welcoming Jay Wright of Vuforia to the stage.
Thank you. Good morning, Super Friends. How many of you watched the Super Friends? Early 80s Saturday morning cartoons? Yes, thank you. Other people in my age group, I appreciate that. So it has been a huge year for AR. I know it's certainly been a huge year for the Vuforia team. Last year when we were here, I was employed by Qualcomm. Yeah, the Vuforia team worked for Qualcomm. And for those of you that have been following Vuforia, you know we're now part of PTC. So I wanted to start off and give you a short background on who PTC is. PTC was started 30 years ago, and they actually had an extremely disruptive technology solution for CAD, computer-aided design. And boy, do these guys know 3D. So that CAD solution and that CAD business has now been grown into a $1.3 billion business, serving 28,000 customers, give or take, predominantly in discrete manufacturing, companies that make stuff. But turns out it's about half of the Fortune 1000 too. Now, PTC has not had a huge presence with the developer ecosystem and platforms. But that is absolutely changing. The company has invested over $1 billion to create a brand new technology platforms group to address both IoT and AR. And Vuforia is a part of that group. And I can tell you, we've been a tremendous beneficiary of that investment. The Vuforia team has actually nearly doubled in the 6 months since this acquisition has taken place. So for all of you that are thinking about Vuforia and depending on Vuforia for the projects and solutions you're building, you're in really good hands. So every year we talk about how this opportunity gets a little bit bigger and a little bit better. And oh my gosh, I saw this quote from Tim Merrill, who said AR and VR is the fourth major platform shift. So we have gone from this early stage AR, let's do these neat, cool things for marketing, to, oh my gosh, yeah, there was desktop, there was the web, there was mobile, and now there's AR, VR. Wow. And I think Tim and others would also tell us it's something like a $50 billion opportunity by 2020. And while I love the size of these numbers, the effect on people like me is I get asked to raise numbers in forecasts, so I kind of wish those weren't always so high. But the numbers are high, the opportunity is large, and we on the Vuforia team have a pretty broad base based on our position with our platform. So today it's the most widely used AR platform in the world, and as such, we actually have quite a bit of data that tells us a little bit about what's going on in the market. So I'm going to share some of that data with you now. First message, overall, AR engagement, AR development, absolutely increasing. Last year, we were a little concerned. We looked at 2014. We didn't see a bunch of growth. Check out what happened 2015, 38%. Oh my gosh. What is going on there? Number one thing that's going on there is China. So developer base for AR, at least as far as Vuforia is concerned, has doubled. Also significant growth in Southeast Asia. But there's more to this picture. So let's take a look at what's happening in app stores. Let's try. Click again. So app stores are a really good indication of what's happening in the consumer-facing applications. And these are largely marketing applications used for marketing and sales. And you'll see something. In 2014, this took a huge uptick. Last year, lots of growth. For 2014, lots of growth. 2015, not so much. It's only 7%. So what's going on there? I don't know exactly, but there's two things that I think I can point to. Number one, there's a lot less experimentation going on by marketers. I think by and large, people that were fooling around with AR and using AR for AR's sake, it's kind of stopping. And we're seeing much more focused use, albeit by very, very big brands and product manufacturers. And the other thing that's going on is, you know, that same group that was kind of using AR just to do AR because it was cool for their marketing campaign, a lot of those dollars and projects are going to VR things. And it turns out it's not actually all really VR. Now you can, if you're one of these marketers, you build a VR application that you hold in your hand, and if you're using sensors to move around, yeah, that's VR. So I think most of us would recognize that is not VR, but definitely it's a phenomenon that's happening. So this is the story for consumer stuff, but if you've walked the floor out there already, you notice there's a lot of pumps, heavy equipment, and other kinds of demos that we haven't seen a lot of here. So what's going on there? Well, this is growth of what we see with Vuforia projects that are not in app stores. So these are guys that are working on new stuff, not putting it in the app store, and that probably means it's an enterprise use. It means it's because those aren't going through app stores, they tend to be installed and distributed in other ways. So look at these numbers. Look at 2014. Yeah, nice bump. Enterprise is interesting. Oh my God, 2015, 86%. Wow. Tremendous, tremendous growth. And you'll see that 5,000 projects there. That's actually just projects that come from PTC customers, because I have that data to do that cross-reference. But key takeaway here is, if you are not figuring out the enterprise angle for what you're doing and you're in AR, you probably ought to be. So what is it that these guys are doing? I know you guys are pretty familiar with the application space, so I'm going to give you a top-level view of the big categories as we look at them. First one, we're helping companies market and sell their products. So this is a lot of the consumer-facing stuff that's happening, although it's also being used for sales tools, for salespeople that are calling on their customers directly. Apps might not be in app stores, but I think generally we understand that one. Create, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this one in detail in a minute, and then operate and service. So companies are using AR to fundamentally change the way they service products and they operate products, and also the way they're enabling consumers to do it, because they can make this process so freaking simple with the most intuitive step-by-step instructions you've ever seen. And if there was a killer capability for AR, I think it's those step-by-step instructions. So I'm going to now take a look through some of the things that we've added in the platform, just actually the last 6 months, that will help you address this enterprise opportunity. So first one, we hear a ton about virtual reality. Can't get away from it in the news. Of course, we all hear a ton about AR, but we don't hear a lot about how they're used together. We actually call that mixed reality. Well, why would somebody want to use them together? Well, let's pretend that we're a CAD user, we're a designer, and we're sitting in our office, we're sitting in front of a screen, we got a 3D model on it, and we use our keyboard and our mouse, move that thing around, and take a look at it from different angles. But would it not be helpful if I could take that engine off my screen and visualize it right in my office? See it in my office, walk around the engine at real size, see where the wiring harnesses are going to connect, and maybe even do that experience and share it with others. Tremendously valuable. But what if I want to get inside that engine? Like, what if I want to do a fly-through through the exhaust manifold? Well, that's where VR comes in. With VR, as you know, I don't have to be at real size. I can be a tiny little person, and I can walk or crawl through any 3D space. So I have AR to visualize an outside-in view, and then I got VR when I want to go inside out and check things out. So they fit together very naturally, and for those of you that have used Vuforia, you know we make this extremely simple. We introduced something called a mixed reality controller, so you can actually set specific modes of how VR and AR work together, and it all just happens. It all just happens. So next one, boy, object recognition. You all are familiar with the need to put AR experiences on very specific places on any kind of object. And you're also familiar with the computer vision challenge, that the technology is not in such a place where I can visually uniquely recognize a very specific object. So we introduced this thing called ViewMark. And ViewMark is a marker that you can put on anything. And you'll see one there. This one's actually attached to a Caterpillar skid steer. And over here, you'll see an experience that came up. And that experience is delivering data that has come directly from that piece of machinery, from that skid steer. Well, how did it know that? Well, it knows that because the ViewMark has got data encoded in it. You see those, the sort of diamonds around the edge. So you can encode a URL, you can encode a serial number, or whatever you want. Now, the other great thing about a ViewMark compared to other solutions in the past, they are not ugly. You can actually make these things look really good. You can make them out of your logo. You can make them out of other design elements. And we've got a tool for Adobe Illustrator, so designers can do that. And you'll see some of the examples here of the ViewMarks that can be developed. So super cool. ViewMark, it's really the beginning of our universal object recognition and identification capability. Okay, next thing. Let's talk about devices. So most of these enterprise projects are starting on Apple devices, and actually there's a pretty big concentration with iPad. But one of the things we heard from enterprise is, oh my gosh, we can't do that in our computing environment. We need Windows. And so in January, we announced support for Windows 10. And that brought us two great new devices from Microsoft, Surface Pro and Surface Book. But there's another Windows 10 device that is super interesting, and it takes these experiences from our hands to our heads. And that one you've all seen. It's called HoloLens. And we announced support with Microsoft, Vuforia on HoloLens, in April at Microsoft's Build conference. So this is really great. Now, from a developer perspective, because you're using Vuforia, this means you can build one application that's going to work across all these devices. And I'm going to show you a really quick example of one that we developed, and this is just a prototype that shows you same application, Surface, and HoloLens. Let's take a look. So videos are interesting. We all see a lot of videos, but does that stuff actually work? Yes, that stuff actually works. And in fact, that very skid steer is sitting on the expo floor out here, and you can go there. You can experience that on Surface. You can experience that on HoloLens. And you can also experience that on iPad and, of course, on the ODG R7. So really great opportunity for you to figure out what these kind of experiences look like and how they look and feel on these different types of devices. So what's coming next with Vuforia? Well, I'm going to give you a really big hint based on something that we talked about as an internal project in January. It's called Project Thing X. And one of the things that we've heard and continue to hear is we want tools that make authoring easier. It's great. We understand we can do stuff for people that have code, but what if we don't know how to code? We want to drag, we want to drop, we want to do this easily, we want to leverage 3D assets that we already have. So Project Thing X comprises a solution to do that, and is something that, again, we've talked about as an internal project. And for those of you that are really interested in this, I urge you to connect to our live stream for a big event that PTC is doing next week in Boston called LiveWorks. So we're going to have a big announcement about Project Thing X, and I think it's something that many of you will be very excited about. So for those of you that want to get started with Vuforia, with some of the new capabilities that I talked about here, or if you're interested in Project Thing X and want to learn more, please visit developer.vuforia.com. And there will be resources there to direct you to the right place. And we look forward to seeing what it is that you guys do and supporting all of your efforts. So thank you so much for your time. And please visit the floor and check out the demos too. Thank you so much.